Construction is finally complete at the Coral Gables Museum. There is, though, one part of the museum that would have never been possible if it were not for one man, Mr. Robert Fuel. After more than a year under construction, the Coral Gables Museum is finally complete. The original building, the home of the city's old fire and police stations, was restored with many modern upgrades. Despite the grand scale of the building, it would by no means be considered a large museum. Early on, architect George Hernandez measured its rooms and quickly realized the Coral Gables Museum would be the smallest museum in the region by far.
And so I started talking about, shouldn't we add one large open space that traveling exhibits could come and go from, or that a really large exhibit on Coral Gables could really be housed in.
So we got together and we huddled up, and some of the board members felt that it was too big of a challenge for them. They just didn't have the time. We're all professionals and we have families, and it is a lot of work. And I fully understand their position. Yet others felt like, hey, look it, what we want to do here is not for us, it's for our children and for other generations that are going to appreciate what their forefathers had put here in Coral Gables.
And the board debated that because they knew it would be a financial commitment to move forward with that as an additional room, but they came to the conclusion that they were going to have faith in the future, and the angel eventually showed up. His name is Bob Fuel.
I believe, I can't recall a date, I was invited to talk to the Pond Circle group and to other organizations, Rotary, and you know, all in mind trying to find that golden goose. And we zeroed in on Bob. Why? Well, not only because of the assets, but because we knew that this was a philanthropist out there who loved the city of Coral Gables.
My grandfather and my grandmother and my mother moved here from the west coast of Florida about 1900. And so he was, my grandfather was a manager of the Merrick farm over where the golf course is, the Granada Golf Course. If you drive down Carl Way and you turn on South Greenway, there's a sign there. That's where the packing house was. And that's where my grandfather worked. So it's been very close for me to have that historic part there tied in.
A commercial realtor, Fuel quickly made a name for himself. His offices had always been located in Coral Gables, but as fate would have it, in 1985, he moved into the building directly across the street from the city's old and vacant fire and police station.
Especially right across the street from my office. I had to look at that old building all the time, you know. So now it's a nice building. But I had been very lucky in my business that I had the money to do it, and so I decided maybe that's the best thing for me to do.
With Fuel's donation secured, the city-owned parking lot across the alley from the original building would be developed into one large exhibition space. Equally as important would be the open, inviting plaza in front of the new building. Architect George Hernandez designed it respectful to what Phineas Paste, the architect of the municipal building, may have planned for the space.
Well, that spot, which is the plaza, is where the tower is. But that tower is on an alley. Now, towers don't usually happen on alleys. They usually happen on corners of blocks. And I think he put that tower there because he probably always intended that space to stay open, because it's the one place from which you could have seen City Hall frontally and seen the tower.
The impact of the open piazza, the long stately loggia, and openness of the building is priceless.
I was amazed. I thought that there was going to be just another building with four walls, and I was just completely taken off my feet when I walked in there and I saw how they'd finished the entranceway and the high ceilings, and I don't know how high that ceiling is in the annex, but gosh, that thing looks like it's 30 feet tall.
Indeed, the ceiling of the Robert and Marion Fuel Gallery is 30 feet tall. It's impressive and equipped with all the amenities of a modern museum, including some unique design features.
But because the building is abutting another building and then faces west, so you have to protect yourself from the western sun, the light comes in from above in a series of monitors that are not seen from the sidewalk. So it's kind of a surprise. You walk in and you see this kind of celestial soft light entering the space, and in the middle of the day you don't need to turn the lights on.
As with the lighting, every element of the space was carefully planned out. It will hold the museum's main exhibitions.
So now we have the opportunity, if there's a large exhibit with large landscapes that a lot of places couldn't house, we have the opportunity to do that. So I'm excited about how we're going to program the traveling exhibits.
The first years that I'm around, we're going to really focus on Coral Gables. We're going to talk about the things that are really special and unique about Coral Gables in terms of its people, its design, its architecture, its way of life, and what that means.
Museums are no longer kind of hands-off kind of places. I mean, what's happening nationally with the museum movements is it's less of the velvet rope, it's less of the hands-off, it's less of the precious object. There's some of that, of course, but it's more places where people come, interact, and I think they're doing a great job at that.
Long before it had an address, the Coral Gables Museum was living out its mission and connecting with the community it represents with a vision toward preserving its heritage and buildings for future generations.
The fact that is so inviting is going to have a lot of walking traffic. I visualize a lot of walking traffic along Salzita and Giralda and Aragon. And I think that it's going to have a changing effect on the whole neighborhood. And everybody's going to be very appreciative of it.
I hope that the next generation sees the value of this as much as the folks that have worked so hard to put it back into the state it is. So let's hope so.
And we'll be right back.